Imagine a country where you can surf the Caribbean in the morning, hike through snow-capped mountains by lunch, and watch monkeys swing through the Amazon jungle by sunset. Welcome to Colombia, one of the only countries on earth with 2 oceans, 3 mountain ranges, and every climate you can think of packed into one border. Here, the weather never changes. You do. You don't chase summer or winter, you just pick your altitude. From tropical beaches to alpine tundra, Colombia's biodiversity is mind-blowing. More species per square mile than almost anywhere on Earth. Today we're diving into Colombia's incredible climates and how they shape life, culture, and even the country's economy, right here on the Americano. I'm Matt Griffith. Let's get into it. You know, when people think of Colombia, they usually picture palm trees, coffee, or maybe Medellin's perfect weather. But the truth is, that's just one slice of what this country really is. Colombia is like a continent compressed into one nation. And the crazy part is, everything changes not by season, but by altitude. You don't have to drive across time zones or wait for spring to come back. You just go up or down the mountain and you've got a new climate. Want sweater weather? Bogota's got you covered, around 65 degrees year-round. Prefer eternal spring? Medellin hangs out around 80. You like it hot? Head to Santa Marta or Barranquilla. It's a constant 90 plus and beach weather every day of the year. And that's what makes this country one of the most diverse places on earth. Not just in landscapes, but in everything that lives here. We're talking snow-capped volcanoes, coral reefs, desert dunes, rainforests, and a ridiculous number of animals that don't exist anywhere else. Colombia has the second highest biodiversity on the planet, right behind Brazil, even though it's 7 times smaller. 4,000 species of orchids, the world's tallest palm tree, the only bear in South America, and more bird species than any other country on earth. And here's something most people don't realize. Colombia isn't just known for coffee and emerald. Oh, you didn't know about emeralds? Well, more on that in a minute. It's also one of the flower capitals of the world. Because of its year-round spring-like climate in regions like Rio Negro, Medellin, and Bogota's Sabana, Colombia can grow flowers 365 days a year. The sunlight stays consistent, the altitude keeps the temperatures mild, and the fertile volcanic soil does the rest. Today, Colombia is the second largest flower exporter on earth, right behind the Netherlands, and it supplies about 70% of all cut flowers sold in the United States. Every Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and wedding bouquet you see in the US probably started right here in the greenhouses of Cundinamarca or Antioquia. From roses and carnations to orchids and alstroemerias, Colombia's flower farms are living proof of how the country's natural geography and climate aren't just beautiful, they're economically powerful. It's one more reminder that Colombia doesn't have seasons, it has perpetual spring. And that spring fuels an entire industry built on color, fragrance, and life. And yet that same geography, those same perfect growing conditions, also gave rise to something else, that plant that made Colombia infamous, the cocoa leaf. It thrives in the humid foothills and remote forested zones, not in the major cities where most Colombians live. That's one reason why places like Bogota, Medellin, Armenia, Manizales, Pereira, Villa de Leyva, and Bucaramanga remain largely removed from the direct cultivation activity. That split geography is why Colombia ended up with 2 economies, one legal, one not. But that's just a fraction of the story, because for anyone thinking about moving here, retiring here, or just exploring, Colombia's biggest secret isn't its past, it's the climates. You can literally choose your ideal weather, your lifestyle, and your pace of life, all inside one country. So in this video, we're going to explore what makes Colombia the world's climate playground, why altitude is everything here, which cities match the temperature you love, and how this one small country ended up hosting almost every ecosystem on the planet. So let's break this down, because this is one of the coolest things about Colombia that most foreigners don't realize. The entire country is shaped by altitude, and Colombians even have names for the different temperature zones. They call them pisos térmicos, or thermal floors. There are basically 3 main ones: tierra caliente, tierra templada, and tierra fría. And if you understand these, you'll understand why life in Colombia feels so different from one city to another, even when they're only a few hours apart. Tierra Caliente, the hotlands. This is everything below about 3,000 feet. Warm, humid and tropical all year long. It's beach towns, jungles, and rivers. Think Santa Marta, Cartagena, Barranquilla, and the entire Pacific coast. Average temperatures 85 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit every single day of the year. It's where the Caribbean meets salsa music, fresh seafood, and sweat. You'll see people in shorts, hammocks, under palm trees, and no one in a hurry. If you love the heat, this is your zone. Then there's Tierra Templada, the temperate lands. Now climb a little higher between about 3,000 and 6,000 feet and everything changes. This is what Colombians call eternal spring. Here the weather hovers between 70 and 80 degrees year round. No air conditioning, no heater, just perfect. Okay, maybe a little air conditioning. This is the sweet spot for most expats. Cities like Medellin, Pereira, Armenia, and Manizales sit in this range. The air is fresh, mornings are crisp, afternoons are sunny, and you'll hear the sound of coffee beans being roasted somewhere nearby. It's not just comfortable, it's livable. Every day feels like May. Then there's Tierra Fria, the cool lands. Now head about 6,000 feet above and you're in cooler, thinner air. This is where Bogota lives, about 8,600 feet above sea level. Here the average temperature sits around 65 to 70 degrees. And yes, you'll probably own a jacket. The cool climate makes it feel a little more European. Cozy cafes, people in coats, and mountains in every direction. Other cities like Tunja and Pasto also fall into this range, and the landscape gets greener and mistier the higher you go. Above that, there's even Tierra Helado, the frozen land. That's where you'll find the snow-capped volcanoes and the famous paramos, those mysterious alpine tundras filled with fog and alien-looking plants that only grow in Colombia and a handful of other places on Earth. So basically, Colombia gives you a menu of climates. Want hot? Stay low. Want spring? Climb a little. Want sweater weather? Head high. And the best part, it doesn't change with the seasons, ever. You can literally drive from tropical heat to alpine chill in a single afternoon. That's Colombia's secret, a natural climate control system built right into its mountains. And if your ideal climate also involves relaxing, Colombia has you covered. Imagine finishing your hike in the Coffee Zone Mountains, then slipping into natural hot springs under a waterfall. In Santa Rosa de Cabal, only an hour from Pereira, you'll find steaming thermal pools nestled in jungle and mountain. Pure mountain spa day. Near Manizales at Termales El Otoño, the thermal water comes from deep below the earth and rises into pools rich in minerals. Perfect after a cooler zone day. If you want a wild beach jungle version, on the Pacific coast near Nuki, there are hot springs tucked between mangroves and beach. And yes, spa day by the ocean. Whether you're in sweater weather, altitude, or roasting beaches, Colombia lets you choose your weather and choose your unwind. If you're based in Bogota and want a nearby spa retreat, just about 45 minutes outside the city, you'll find the Aguas Calientes hot springs, an easy day trip for busy expats. So what happens when you take 2 oceans, 3 mountain ranges, a slice of the Amazon, and a dozen different microclimates, and you cram them all into one country roughly the size of Texas? You get the most biologically rich place on Earth, pound for pound. Colombia ranks second in the world for biodiversity, only behind Brazil, and Brazil is 7 times bigger. Here, every mountain valley, every river basin, every shift in altitude creates a brand new ecosystem. Colombia has more bird species than any other country on Earth, over 1,900 of them. That's about 1 out of every 5 species on the planet. If you're into bird watching, it's like being dropped inside a live-action National Geographic. You'll see hummingbirds the size of your thumb, toucans, macaws, Andean condors with 10-foot wingspans, and the stunning quetzal. It's also home to the spectacled bear, South America's only bear. You've got jaguars roaming the Amazon, tapirs wandering through the jungle, and pink river dolphins swimming alongside canoes in Leticia. And if you head to the llanos, those wide open plains, you might even spot giant anteaters or capybaras, basically the world's biggest guinea pigs living their best lives. Colombia is a plant lover's dream. Over 4,000 species of orchids grow here. The national flower itself is an orchid called Cattleya trinae, and I probably butchered that, so if I did, tell me in the comments. You'll find giant ferns, bromeliads, and palms that grow taller than a 10-story building. The wax palms of Cocora Valley, they're so tall they look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book, swaying in the mist with clouds drifting between them. And then there's the Paramo, a unique high-altitude ecosystem found almost nowhere else on Earth. It looks like another planet, spongy moss, lakes that feed Colombia's major rivers, and strange plants called frailejones that store water in their fuzzy leaves. The Paramo acts like a giant natural water tower, literally giving life to the rest of the country below. Head down a few thousand feet and that cold tundra gives way to cloud forests, then coffee farms, then rainforest, and eventually the mangrove coasts where the jungle meets the sea. It's an entire world of nature stacked vertically, like someone took all of the Earth's biomes and organize them by elevation. So whether you're a biologist, a photographer, or just someone who loves waking up to birdsong in green mountains, Colombia doesn't just give you a place to live, it gives you a front row seat to the planet's most diverse backyard, a place so rich in life it almost feels like the spot where God first began creation. Emeralds and the treasures beneath Colombia's beauty doesn't stop at the surface. It runs deep underground too. This country produces some of the finest emeralds on earth, known for their incredible clarity and the unmistakable dark green color called Colombian green. About 70 to 90% of the world's emeralds come from here. Mined in the rugged mountains of Boyacá and Cundinamarca, north of Bogota, in places like Muzo, Chibar, and Cosquez. The secret? It's the same geology that gives Colombia its mountains, ancient seabeds, lifted by tectonic shifts millions of years ago, compressing minerals into gemstones instead of coal. That's why nowhere else on earth can quite replicate Colombia's emerald color or purity. And while emeralds steal the spotlight, Colombia's underground world hides even more treasures: sapphires, quartz, topaz, amethyst, and even rare platinum deposits. Colombia was actually one of the first countries in the world to mine platinum. So from the orchids in the treetops to the emeralds deep beneath the Andes, Colombia's richness isn't just what you see, it's every layer of the landscape. Now here's the twist. The same geography that makes Colombia so beautiful and biodiverse also explains why much of the world's cocoa leaf, the base for cocaine, grows here. But this isn't about cartels or movies anymore. It's really about where things can physically grow. Coca thrives in a narrow environmental window, a warm, humid, and sunny, but not soaking wet, between roughly 1,000 and 7,000 feet of elevation. That puts it in Colombia's remote foothills and jungle basins, not in the higher, cooler mountain cities where most Colombians actually live. So when you hear about coca cultivation, it's happening far away, in isolated regions like Arauca, Cauca, and Norte de Santander, the same areas the US State Department lists with travel advisories. Outside of those few departments, the rest of Colombia, which is 95% of Colombia, the cities most people visit and live in, is a completely different world, and why these places aren't on those travel advisories from the US and other countries. Up here in places like Bogota, Medellin, Armenia, Manizales, Pereira, Bucaramanga, and Villa de Leyva, life is peaceful, modern, and hundreds of miles away from where coca can even grow. Most Colombians go about their daily routines completely untouched by that underground economy. That's the geography gap that outsiders rarely see. Colombia's mountains didn't just shape its climate, they shaped its society. They created two very different realities, one lush and remote where the plants grow, and one thriving and vibrant where the people live. And that separation is part of what makes Colombia so fascinating, a country whose landscapes have defined not just its beauty, but its history, its challenges, and its resilience. So when you really think about it, Colombia isn't just one country, it's many countries stacked on top of each other. Every few thousand feet, the temperature changes, the landscape changes, even the culture shifts a little. That's why you can find so many different versions of paradise here. If you want cool mountain air, you've got Bogota and Tunja. If you want spring weather year-round, Medellin, Manizales, Pereira, and Armenia are your sweet spot. And if you want the heat, the beaches, and that coastal rhythm, head to Cartagena, Santa Marta, or Barranquilla. It's the only place I've ever been where you can literally choose your weather. You don't move across the country to find your ideal climate, you just change altitude, and you get it consistently all year long. No seasons. No extreme shifts from hot to cold. And that's the magic of Colombia, a place that's not defined by its past, but by its nature, its staggering beauty, its endless variety, and its ability to give you exactly the kind of life you want to live. So whether you're exploring, retiring, or just curious, Colombia's biggest secret isn't a city or a beach. It's the fact that no matter what kind of weather or lifestyle you love, you can find it here, because in Colombia, you don't follow the seasons, you live above them. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and YouTube shows me that only 23% of my viewers are subscribed. By subscribing, you help a small channel like mine out by letting the YouTube algorithm know that you're interested in my videos. I have a free newsletter called The Passport that includes information from my videos as well as other topics about living abroad, visas, travel, and earning income while living abroad. I also have another newsletter called Brokor, which has Colombia and international real estate offerings and business opportunities. And lastly, I've recently started an expat group in Bogota called Bogota Nomads, where we have meetups at restaurants and other fun places. These links for all of these are in the description below. Thanks for watching. I really honestly appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope to meet you at a future meetup. Take care.